Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I am going to be reading some stories off of Reddit that I found were pretty creepy slash interesting. So I scrolled through Reddit for like hours and hours and I tried to get the best ones that I could. So I have 5 interesting stories for you guys that I think you guys would like. So without any further ado, let's get straight to it. If you guys see something in my teeth or my face, around my lips, I am sorry, I am eating cake. Sorry for that, guys. Alright, guys, so this first story is titled Abusive Ex-Husband Has the Devil Inside of Him. I said it weird, I'm sorry. Alright, guys, so I was married for 2 years and horribly tortured and abused. I obviously left, and now I'm able to tell this story. This is what actually made me leave. I had just had our son. He was maybe 4 months old at the time, 1 now, and he had gotten progressively worse after I gave birth. I knew I needed to leave, and eventually it became all I could think about. I would get up with him every morning, make his coffee, get our son ready and fed, and then make myself some coffee. We'd sit at our table and drink our coffee together, usually when my son went down for his morning nap. I know, play the part of the happy couple. I could already tell he was in a mood that morning, so I kept quiet and drank my coffee. I began to ask him how he slept, and he took a sip of his coffee and began to talk. I can't even remember what he said because what happened made me jump out of my seat. His face began to morph and his smile was wide. And I'm not talking like a big smile, I mean like a too big for his face. His big blue eyes turned brown and suddenly seemed small. I was not staring at my husband. His voice was deeper and had a bass to it. He took another sip of his coffee, and just as quick as the demon in him appeared, it disappeared. I sat in shock for a minute and said I needed to use the bathroom. I got up, collected myself, even convinced myself I was seeing things. I went back out to the kitchen, and when I walked in, I saw the same face and heard the same demonic voice say, "You okay, babe?" I smiled and said, "Yes, I'm fine, hun." As soon as I said it, it disappeared again. I left a few days later. I truly believe a higher power let me see who my husband really was, and let me see what was truly living in him. And I got the hell out. Edit. Because I'm tired of repeating myself, I do not think he was possessed. I think his ways made him attract demons that latched onto him. I am not in any way saying he was abusive because he had a demon. He was this way because he was a horrible person, not because of this experience. He's the one who made the choice. Demon or not, we have free will. So that one's pretty creepy, guys, because this woman was living in a house with her husband who was already abusive, and it was just her and her child who was 4 months at the time. They were really defenseless against the demon, which is even creepier and takes it to a whole different level. I don't know, guys. It just gives me chills reading that story. Alright, guys, so on to the next one. This story is by Breer Patch Kid. It says, "Creepy for me. I was having a tense conversation with someone that I was close to years ago. The conversation quickly developed into a passive-aggressive fight that ended with the other person getting in the car and driving away. As I started heading back inside, the other person came back, got out the car, and started our conversation again. The tone was totally different, and the stance was different, and the feeling in the air was completely off. I don't know how else to explain it. As the conversation progressed, the other person started saying some nasty and mean things that were completely out of character. I said, 'This isn't like you, Jerry,' they said. 'What makes you think I'm Jerry?' I remember continuing the conversation and talking to the person for a long time, but I don't remember anything specific. I do remember becoming more and more alarmed and knowing something wasn't right. Finally, I told the person to go home. They complied and left. I went back inside and started telling my siblings about the situation when the doorbell rang. Maybe 2 to 3 minutes had passed. It was the person coming back to apologize for the original fight. They had been driving around town for a long time and didn't want to go home, leaving things unresolved. I asked why they had said some of the things from the last conversation, and they looked at me like I was crazy. They had no idea what I was talking about. Totally could have been lying, but the whole situation just so dark. Scared the hell out of me. That's scary because you don't even know if it's actually your friend or something else controlling them, which makes it a bit more harder to react to the situation, I guess. In my opinion, that one's really creepy. Alright, guys, so this next one is by BattleRazzle01. And this one is kind of paranormal, but warm at the same time. I don't know if I'm making sense. But at the same time, it could be something else that's playing with them, pretending to be their parent, which is kind of creepy as well. And I'd rather think it's not a demon just playing with them, but it's actually their father. Let me read it to you guys first. So it goes like this. March 2015, my father had passed a month or so earlier. I wasn't sleeping well. I would be up later and later at night. My father used to always give me stuff for staying up late and because it's ruining my sleep schedule and affecting my work. You know, the standard parenting stuff.
It's about 2:30 a.m. and I'm watching YouTube on my PS4. Power in the house flickers. I check the windows, no rain or wind or anything. I figure somebody hit a post somewhere. A couple minutes later, the power goes out for a second, and it comes right back on. Nothing was affected, which is weird because when the power goes out, electronics reset. I check the windows again, still nothing happening outside. A couple minutes later, power goes out for almost a whole minute. From the couch, I can see the streetlight outside is still lit, as well as the other houses on the street. Power comes back on, and everything is still as it was. Video continues where it left off, clocks haven't reset, nothing. It's now 2:37 a.m. I audibly said, okay, and went to bed. Next morning, I wake up for work. The clock in the oven says 11 something a.m. My phone says 7:23. It was around 11 when my father left the house the day he passed. Fast forward to January of this year, 3-year anniversary of our father's passing. I can't sleep. I'm upstairs in my new home watching Netflix. Power flickers and goes out. I immediately say, okay, I'm going to bed. Power comes back on. Next morning, getting ready for bed, oven clock says 11:41 a.m. Dad doesn't like when I stay up too late. So that one's really creepy because, like I said, it could just be another demon that's toying with them, pretending to be your dad, but it could not. And that's the beauty of this story because it's just whatever you guys want to believe. Alright, guys, so for this next one, I am going to read one story and a thread under that story because they're both from the same Reddit story thread, whatever you guys want to call it. I'm new to this whole Reddit thing. So I'm going to read both of them, but it's just one story. And they're both kind of similar, so it won't be much of a difference. Worldwide Dart says, my grandmother's house had a very distinct smell. Nothing bad though, just a grandmother's house smell. Anyways, when she came to visit us, she always used to sit in a specific chair in the living room. Shortly after she passed away, my father, my oldest sister, and myself came home, and when we walked into the living room and we smelled her, my dad said, hello, Ethel, and the smell disappeared. I would be skeptical if just one of us experienced this, but it was all three of us. So this one's kind of like a warm, creepy story because you know that the paranormal exists, but it's the one you're experiencing. It's not the evil one. It's not the evil kind. So I'm gonna read the other one, which is kind of similar. So this one is by the Super Blondie. It says, my grandfather passed away when I was 8, and my little brother was 2 or 3. He had his big lazy boy chair in the living room that he always planted himself in. Everyone knew this chair was Grandpa's chair. Anyways, we went down to my grandparents' house in Florida for a long weekend to attend the funeral, etc. We were all chatting the first night there in the living room, and my mom was sitting in the lazy boy chair. My little brother goes up to my mom and says, Grandpa wants his chair back. My mom asks him where Grandpa is, thinking he probably didn't understand that, to which he responds, he's right behind you. My mom bolted off the sofa immediately. They're both not related, but they're similar in the sense that their spirit is still with the family, which is kind of heartwarming in a sense, but still creepy just because, you know, you're experiencing something paranormal. So let's go on to the next one, guys. So this one says, my uncle's house out in a very eastern part of New York was said to be haunted due to the family that used to own it in the 1800s. They decided not to give it to the stableman and sold it instead. He and the maid were said to have haunted the place. We always used to joke that you would hear people or things moving at night, but since the house is so old, we used to just laugh it off. My uncle's friend had her and her sister stay over the house one night, and the friend noticed the maid bringing towels down the stairs when she woke. She saw the maid again, bringing what looked like a percolator down the stairs. She was so impressed by my uncle hiring staff. He is a neurologist in New York City, so he had a habit of spending a little bit extra. She went back to bed and woke up later downstairs to see my uncle and his friend just chatting. She asked where his maid went, and she thought that the maid was cooking breakfast. My uncle had no idea what she was talking about and asked what she looked like. The sister explained, and he laughed, walking her to the living room and pointed to an old picture. She said that was the woman, which my uncle replied, yeah, she's been dead for 100 years. So now that one's creepy, guys, because the fact that you're being haunted, it might not be an evil spirit, but there's a spirit there, and it's still pretty creepy because why would they be there? They're obviously attached to something. So I guess so. This last one was my favorite, honestly, because it just sounds interesting. It's about doppelgangers. So for those who don't know, a doppelganger is basically like a clone slash twin of you, but they're not related to you whatsoever. So this one is by 1LT underscore obvious. I lived in a house that seemed to be haunted by doppelgangers. Every event that happened never involves a mysterious figure, but a known person being in a place where they should not have been. Here are a few examples. I was a teenager at the time, and I was instant messaging my girlfriend at the time with my webcam turned on. I had the viewer up so that I could see myself in the webcam. Behind me, there were stairs leading up. left camera of the view, and the entrance to the living room, right view of the camera. My younger sister would typically fall asleep every night on the couch in front of the TV and make her way up the stairs in the middle of the night. At one point in the webcam view, I saw my sister leave the living room and go up the stairs. The thing that struck me odd was that I didn't hear anything. It was an older Victorian house, so the wooden floor and stairs were loud AF. Without saying anything to my girlfriend, I got up and looked into the living room, and there was my sister passed out on the couch. I sat back down and asked my girlfriend if she had seen anything on the camera. She said, "Yeah, I saw your sister go up the stairs." This next example. My family was getting ready to go somewhere. I was sitting in the car with my mom, and we were waiting on my sister who was still in the house. After a bit, she comes out and gets in the car, and she looks at me like, "Oh, what the hell?" I asked her what's wrong, and she says that just before she walked out the house, she thought I was still inside, so she yelled up the stairs, "Hey, we're leaving." And apparently, I yelled back, "Okay, I'll be down in a minute." So these two are some very creepy slash crazy examples, because just the fact that you're being haunted by somebody that looks like you and could do basically anything they wanted to looking like you is pretty crazy, and I wouldn't want that to happen to me, because they could basically do whatever they want and it wouldn't affect them, it would affect you because it's you. So that's just pretty weird. And those were my top stories for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed these little Reddit story time. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. That would really mean a lot to me, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video.